Good morning.
Good morning.
Wonderful to see you all today. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving. Is everybody ready?
We're ready.
Yeah, starting to thaw out your turkeys almost. Don't do it too late. I learned that. But we're glad to have you all here and celebrate this holiday time. This is a time where we come together as families. We come together as friends. We come together, and today we're coming together as one church body, as one family under God, and celebrating this and thinking about the homes that we're striving to build, the home for God that we're trying to build, a place where many can be welcomed into God's banquet, into God's victory. God wants to bring all his children home and sit together, and so we're striving to build that here. And so I'm glad you're all here with us as we've been talking about this journey of building a home. And the point is that we want to rebuild the world that God originally intended, the home that God had in his plans from the very beginning. The other week I was in D.C. and President Damien was sharing with some kids about peace. And there was this group of little girls, these dancers that were going to perform in a little bit. And they were very active, trying to raise their hands and engage him. Even he was asking questions that were rhetorical in nature. They had an answer for him every time. And one of the questions, he said, how do we know that world peace is possible, that God can repair this world? And one of the girls raised her hand and very confidently said, well, God built this world, so obviously he can fix it, right? So God can fix this world, and God is fixing and repairing, restoring, rebuilding this world. And it starts with each one of us, where we let God reside back in our hearts and we live that out in our families, and it catches on, it's passed on from one to the next, right? We receive this joy, this gift of love, and we share it with others. So today we wanted to talk about flipping our own house, flipping our own life, and finding that restoration for ourselves. In 2 Peter it says, for this very reason, make every effort to supplement your faith with virtue, and virtue with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with steadfastness, and steadfastness with godliness, and godliness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love. For if these qualities are yours and are increasing, they keep you from being ineffective or unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. So as we grow ourselves in our understanding, but also in our actions, in our lifestyle, in our character, we come more and more to resemble Christ, to be Christ-like, to be that embodiment of God's love into this world. And maturity, and I find it crazy that godliness is even before brotherly affection and love, right? Godliness, we think that's the supreme, but then it puts affection and love actually above godliness. Wow, right? So this relationship and family and developing that character, that is really the highest level. As God is our heavenly parent, we're reminded, right? Each one of us are brothers and sisters. This is the highest realm, to find that true love. It's not just about being elevated above others, but it's about coming into the lives of others. And this is where the full presence of Christ is experienced. So each one of us, right, we've been talking about this home, and we've been talking about it with our organization, with our church. You know, what would a church look like if it looked more like a home? But today I wanted to talk about it in regards to our own selves, our own personhood, who we are, and restoring that home. You see, each one of us is supposed to be this beautiful home, right? That shares God's love, where God can dwell. It actually says that, don't you know that you're all a temple of God? I hope this is a Japanese temple. That's what I looked up. Is this Japanese? Yeah? All right. So I wanted to connect.
Looks like Kyoto.
Kyoto, that's what I was thinking. No, I didn't think that. I didn't know. But we are all temples of God, right? We all should be a dwelling place of God, where God comes in and God experiences life through us. That God sits down at our dinner table when we're sitting with our kids and we're sharing and we're laughing and we're trying to get our kids to eat vegetables, God is right there in that presence, right? And so this is what we're striving for, to be this kind of dwelling place. But it's a journey, and the journey has been restoration, right? Restoration is a process for restoring the original value to something old, to something that's lost its true shine, its true essence. When we look at it, we go, whoa, this looks dilapidated, but we know underneath is good bones, is a good structure. And restoration is bringing that goodness back to light, to let that shine, to let that excel. And throughout the generations, mankind has been striving to find restoration, to find a way to fix relationships, to govern a nation holy and godly, to live in societies that are peaceful and just. We've been striving to do this, and we've been working with all sorts of different tools, but somehow our efforts have been not for the lasting peace, but some kind of temporary alleviation of the pain, right? We've found a lot of band-aid solutions, and we've covered up problems, but then we keep finding ourselves a few years down the road exasperating the problem, bringing it out again, letting those issues flare up again. And so we get back to work all over again. We get the tools out again. We try and chisel away. We try and shave away. But we keep finding ourselves at a loss. We're not quite at this restored world. Now, one of the things my wife and I like to do, well, now my daughter and my wife like to do a lot, is watch restoration shows, HGTV, right? They love to do that. I used to watch it a lot, but then if I watch it, then my wife starts pointing out all the things in the house to do. So now I try and get out of the room when she watches it, so that I don't have more lists of things to do. But we like watching it and seeing what can be brought out, right? What beauty can be brought out. You have shows like Fixer Upper or Property Brothers, Love It or List It, where they take these homes and you look at them and you go, hey, that's a decent home, or maybe not even a decent home. But then you look at the end and you go, wow, I can't believe that's the same house, right? They pull the sheet away and you see this home and you go, wow, that's what came out of that old house, right? And it's amazing to just think about all the work that goes into it, all that restorational work. They go in and they dig it all out. They tear out walls. They pull out carpets. They find all sorts of junk. And there's always a point in the show where they're like, uh-oh. You know, they go, oh, we didn't plan for this in our budget. But somehow they still come out in the end and you go, wow, I can't believe they did that. So this is the goal, right? And there's this one show, Property Brothers, and they always start off their show the same way. They talk with the couple, they find out their budget, they go, all right, your budget is $500,000, great, right? And then the realtor brother, he goes around and he's supposed to find them this house. And he goes through their checklist, all the things they need, you know, their big walk-in closets, their marble, you know, all the beautiful, wonderful things this couple thinks that they want. And then he brings them into a house. And it's this gorgeous house. It's like beyond any of their wildest dreams. And they go, wow, look at those ceilings. And whoa, look at these floors. And they're blown away. They're like, Jonathan, how did you do it? You found the perfect house. And they get really excited and they're about to sign contracts. They're so excited. They're thinking about, oh, my kids are going to be in here and this is going to be my office. And they get to the end and he goes, so how much do you think this costs? And of course they're thinking, well, I told you my budget's $500,000, so it's probably $500,000. And he goes, oh, no, this one's listed for $1.2 million. You go, what? And you just see all their hopes and dreams dashed in a single word, and they just feel so let down, and they go, oh my goodness, Jonathan, what did you do? Like, what's this about? And they get so upset and frustrated that they just lost the home of their dreams. And he goes, okay, well, what if I told you we can find another home, and we're gonna buy it at a cheap value, and then we're gonna dig through it, and we're gonna build it in, you know, we're gonna do all this work, we're gonna tear it all apart, and I'm gonna still give you that home. And so that's the premise of this show. And then he works to make this old junky house into the house of their dreams. Well, for each one of us, right, that's our hope, our dream. We sometimes look at ourselves and we go, I know I've got all good structure inside of here. I know there's goodness here. But recently, I don't feel like the home that God dwells in. I don't feel like I'm that original home, that original creation that God intended. I'm looking at myself and I'm going, yeah, there's a few things that need repair. Right? So each one of us has this hope and this dream, and then we look at ourselves and we go, oh, how do I get there? So there's these people in history that showed us a path, a journey to get there. We have Jesus of Nazareth. He's this man that grew into the most generous, kind person we could imagine. Every wonderful attribute, right, we place upon Jesus. We go, wow, he was an embodiment of all these good stuff, right? And you look at him and you look at his background, where he comes from, and you go, well, actually, he started off kind of dusty, the son of a carpenter, and he grows into this man that now we want to emulate. We've got the Buddha, right? He started out as a prince and then dropped into nothingness and then came back up, right? And we've got Reverend Mood. We've got these different people that embody this hope, this cherished hope that we all have of who we could be. We look at them and we go, wow, what it would be like if I was that generous, if I was that kind, if I was that forgiving. And so we start on our spiritual journey and we're really excited. We go, wow, I'm going to be like Christ. Right? I'm gonna read the Bible every day, and I'm going to start being good and kind, and wow, this is who I'm going to be. Oh, I'm going to get into that nirvana. I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to just, everybody who responds negatively to me, I'm just going to, just peacefully deal with everyone. And we're excited in the beginning of our personal spiritual journey. But then when we look at it, we go, well, what about the cost? How much did it cost to get there? Right? Well, I've got this beautiful home that what I'm aspiring towards. But it's hard for us when we actually start counting the cost. But what will it take for me to become that? Right? Even Jesus has a whole list of all these things. He tries to dissuade the disciples. He goes, you don't even understand the cost of following me. Yeah, come follow me, but then you've got to pick up the cross. Come follow me, but then you've got to count what it's going to take to build that life. And see, do you really have what it takes to get here? And it's scary. And then some of us, we step away. We go, oh, that's too much. That's not for me. I like the ideal. I like that idea of having kind and generous families and loving relationships, but it takes so much, and I'm going to have to change so much of me. And then we get nervous. But it's important we keep these ideals in front of us so that we can keep taking the steps. And there was this perfect example in one of the Superman movies, right? Superman is this ideal of what the best person could be, right? He's just kind, he's loving, he helps everybody, he never puts himself above anybody. Even though he could have all the power in the world, he just lives for other people. He's one of these messianic figures, right? And so in one of the movies, his father says to him, "You will give the people of earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you, they will stumble, and they will fall. But in time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders." And so when we look at these figures, when we look at Christ, we go, wow, I want to be like that. And then we stumble and fall, right? Well, get back up and try again. Their example is there to show us that it can be done. Yes, the cost might be high. Yes, it might take a long time. Yes, it might take a lot of effort, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of grace, a lot of trying and trying again. But they set that example, and when we keep it in front of us, when we keep our eyes on that ideal, on the tree of life, on what we're striving to be, we can eventually accomplish wonders. We can rise up to the sun. We can live that kind of life. But it starts off by looking in the mirror, right? And when we look in the mirror, we go, okay, this is the goal. Like, I'm ready to go. I had this sermon this Sunday. I'm excited. I can see who I'm striving to be. And we look in the mirror and we go, okay, this is going to be great. I'm going to do this. I'm finally going to kick that habit. I'm finally going to start studying God's Word. I'm finally going to start meeting my neighbors. I'm going to do this. And we look in that mirror. And then we start seeing other things pop up. Things we didn't notice. You know those mirrors, the makeup mirrors? They're terrible, right?
Terrible.
You flip them around, you go, oh my gosh, oh, let's back up again. And that's what it's like, right? We start looking in that mirror, and we start looking at who we are, and we start noticing the blemishes and the mistakes and the hurts and the pains and the regrets and the resentments. We start remembering that relationship that broke, that person that let us down. We start rehashing all that, and we go, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. We step back, right? But have faith. We can move through that. We can go through this and become these mature person. Reverend Moon said, a person who is mature is fully ripe and is in a state of perfection. It doesn't mean never to make a mistake. Remember that. Never, it doesn't mean never to make a mistake. No mathematical or technical error. It means to have a mature heart of love and live for the sake of others. Perfection is a result of natural growth, free from sin. This is the meaning of the blessing to be fruitful. So when we hold us up to this perfection standard of no blemishes, well, we're all going to fall short. We've all got our journey. We've all got our scars, our pains, our sorrows that we are bearing. But the first blessing is still there for us. That fruit is still waiting for us to receive. As we continue to pursue growth, as we continue to dig through these things and look at Christ and we go, this is who I'm striving to be. And we learn to live for the sake of others. We start to put down our own desires and we start giving to others. We start loving others. We start forgiving others. And we start forgiving ourselves. And then we move forward into this maturity, into this level of the first blessing. But first, we might feel or be tempted to say, I'm going to change my life today by smiling a little more tomorrow. You know, I'm just going to start smiling and then I'll be perfect. Or I'm not going to yell every time I feel mad. And these are great steps, but they're also only band-aid solutions. As we look closer, as we look beyond the smile, we start to look at the internal issues that have kept us from smiling. You know, it wasn't just that I didn't want to smile, but there has been something holding it back. There has been some regret, resentment, some pain, some hurt that's kept me from smiling. It's not just about holding your tongue when you feel really angry, but it's realizing there's some place of anger that this keeps emerging from. It's not just not yelling, but it's addressing what that conflict is that's going on in my heart that causes me to continually erupt. As every one of these design shows show you, they start, you know, with this grand design, they start painting the walls, they start stripping walls, and then, oh my goodness, there's mold behind this wall. Well, it can't be just this quick fix anymore. We've got to tear that out and rebuild. And they start putting in new lights, and then they realize, wow, the electrical work that here has been done is terrible. We're going to have a fire if we don't address this issue. As we start looking at ourselves, as we start going through this process, we start realizing there are underlying issues, and if you're brave and bold enough, and also believing in the love of God, that God will get you through. God sees that final product, and God has a path for you, then you're going to be able to address those issues. And it takes time. It takes perseverance. It takes effort. It takes love. It takes a lot of grace. But as we step through it, right, we come to finally being that home that we've aspired for. Not just a new paint job, but something that's internally changed and transformed. Something that's been resurrected. Something that's been brought back to life. This is what God has in plan for each one of us and for every other person outside of these walls that's waiting for that restoration. But it's not just a paint job, right? As we've said, it's a matter of getting to work and applying God's principles, God's truth into our daily life. About restoring the underlying roots. About hitting those problems. About addressing where that anger comes from. Addressing where that sorrow comes from. And working on it, processing it, talking to the people we need to talk to, giving forgiveness where it needs to be given. Asking for forgiveness where you need to ask for it. You're going through these things. It's a work in progress. It's a process that requires a lot of effort, a lot of hard work, a lot of elbow grease. But as we go through this process, we start to see the trueness of ourselves come about. In James 1:4 it says, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Right? The promise of the gospel is that we would become mature and complete, that we would become Christ-like. But so many people have stopped at the forgiveness part and haven't gone through the sanctification, have not gone through the process of restoring themselves, have not gone through the hard work. And so even though they're saved, they keep making mistakes. Even though they've been given this grace, they keep hurting themselves. And they go, "God, I thought you were going to fix my life." And God says, I've given you the instructions. I'm here for you. I've got a body around you, a family to support you. But you've got to take some steps too, my brother, my son, my daughter. You've got to make some effort. And so the process of restoration, let that perseverance, that continual investment, not the once and done, but the continual effort to grow our character so that the maturity and completeness can come into our life and that we don't lack anything. But don't worry, on this path of restoration, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all broken wires and broken foundations and moldy walls. There's other things that you will discover underneath. As we start to uncover who we truly are, as we start to let God in and let God shine into our life, there starts to be exposed these aspects of our life that we haven't felt in a long time, this natural laughter, right? Because what happens is over the years, as we've just put on another coat of paint, another coat of paint, another coat of paint, we're hiding the true beauty that was once originally there. I remember going through my grandparents' home. We were restoring it before they put it on the market. And, we were down in the basement knocking down all the walls and clearing it out. And we were repainting everything. And then in their living room and family room, there was an old carpet. And we're like, all right, we got to replace this. And so we started tearing out this carpet. We were ripping out all this carpet. It was all old and junky. But then underneath it were these beautiful hardwood floors. All throughout the house, these beautiful hardwood floors were hidden under this junky old carpet. I guess it was a thing, or maybe it's because Minnesota is really cold. They covered everything and tried to keep it warm. There was a protectant, or maybe it was a stylistic choice. They said, oh, wood floors are so out, and let's get carpet. I think back in the 60s they were doing that. But when we pulled it out, we realized and we uncovered the true beauty of this house. So sometimes if we're pulling back the layers, the things that we put up as protectant, the things that have put on this image that we wanted the world to see, we actually covered up the most beautiful thing that God ever made. With our masks and with our covers and with our lies and our deceit, we've covered up the true beauty that lies within us. So allow God to come back in. Allow God's word to permeate your everyday life. Let his love shine through so that you can take away all that stuff that you thought you had to cover up. And you can see the true beauty that's underneath. And simple humility, let our gardener God landscape you with the word, making a salvation garden of your life. How beautiful is that, right? God is this gardener that wants to bring new life and let something new shine. So let our humility, let us put down our egos and our fears and our insecurities and let God in and just go, God, okay, I'm finally ready. Let's do this act of restoration. Let's do this act of rebirth. And I know it's going to sting a little bit. I know you're going to have to cut away some things that have been growing in this garden. I know you're going to have to pull out some things that I was just fine with. But in that process, we're going to see that salvation garden, that new life, that new hope, that new truth come out of us. This is a recreation God has been trying to do in our lives for generations. So on this journey, it will be a lot of hard work. Right? To restore any home, to restore any old car, to restore your life, it will take a lot of effort. You're going to be uncovering things, and you're going to be pulling things away, and you're going to be seeing things you wish you hadn't seen or you thought you'd never see again. But as you go through it, as you finally remove the things that have been holding you back, as you finally get rid of the things that have been telling you you're someone you're not really, right? Then the true beauty of you will finally come out, and God can finally let the fruits of the Spirit come out. Of joy, of love, of generosity, of contentedness, right? These are the fruits that God has been trying to grow in your garden. And as you let God become the gardener, as you let God go through your life, finally you can do this. So I know that this is a long journey for many of us. It's a big process to undertake. But as we look in the mirror, and we believe in God's word, and we believe in God's love for us, each one of us can do this. And you can do this. So brothers and sisters, let's make a process of recreation this week. I believe in you, and God does even more so. Let's join in prayer. Dear God, we love you. We're blown away by the love you have for us. Our Heavenly Parent, you have cared for us. You have nurtured us. You have seen us grow from babies through toddlerhood, all through our childhood, into our teenage years, our young adult life, and our more mature adult life. God, you have seen us every step of the way. And every step you have been there for us. Somehow we still doubt you, though. Somehow we still doubt the creation you've made in us. Somehow we still fear your recreation of us, God. But God, I pray that we can let humility take over, God, that we can let our egos down, that we can let our fears subside, and let you into our hearts this week, God. Finally, allow that process of restoration, that pruning, that heavenly pruning that you have been desiring to do, so that we can finally become fruitful. And you have destined us to become from the very beginning, God. God, I want to pray for all those gathered in this room today. God, be a blessing in their life. Shine a light onto their life. Let them feel your presence, God. Your encouragement, your strength, building up inside of them. God, walk together with our family here this week. God, let us become the light unto a dark world. Let us be the presence of love that so many have been longing for. As we go into Thanksgiving, let us fill our gathering with love and generosity and thanksgiving to you. God, we are grateful for your presence in our life, and we just want to lift up one another on this Sunday service, and we want to pray for this world, God, that they can also see the possibility of restoration, God. We want to pray for those that are lost, that are sick, that are hurting others right now, that are grieving, those that are in pain.
God, we lift up this world to you. As your sons and daughters, God, we pray that we can have strength and courage and compassion to love this broken world. Face it and help it be restored. God, we want to offer this Sunday to you with all of our gratitude, with all of our love. And God, I pray and offer this in all of our names gathered here this morning. In your holy name, Jew, amen.